In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, an alien explorer named Zaloth navigated his sleek, silver spacecraft through a field of glittering stars. Zaloth, a member of the Crinful species, had dedicated his life to charting the unknown reaches of space, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the mysteries of the universe. As he scanned the various frequencies for signs of intelligent life, an unusual distress signal suddenly caught his attention. The signal was weak and intermittent, but what made it truly intriguing was that it didn't match any known communication protocols used by the galactic community. Zaloth focused his large, luminous eyes on the signal's origin and swiftly plugged the coordinates into his ship's advanced navigation system. The signal appeared to be emanating from a small, seemingly unremarkable planet on the outskirts of a remote star system. Intrigued by the prospect of discovering a new species, Zaloth set his course for the mysterious planet, his mind racing with possibilities. As his ship slipped into hyperdrive, the stars blurred into streaks of light, and the explorer leaned back in his chair, wondering what challenges and opportunities awaited him. After several hours of travel, Zaloth's ship dropped out of hyperdrive, and the mysterious planet came into view. It was a world of mottled greens and blues, with swirling cloud formations obscuring much of its surface. Scans indicated a breathable atmosphere and moderate temperatures, but also revealed high levels of seismic activity and intense radiation storms in certain regions. As Zaloth approached the planet, the distress signal grew stronger, guiding him towards a large, jagged canyon near the equator. He carefully maneuvered his ship through the turbulent atmosphere, his skilled hands steady on the controls as he navigated through the buffeting winds. Upon breaching the cloud cover, Zaloth's eyes widened at the sight before him. Nestled within the canyon was the wreckage of a massive spacecraft, its hull battered and scorched. It was clear that the ship had suffered a catastrophic failure, and it was a miracle that it had managed to land in one piece. Zaloth brought his own craft down beside the wreckage, the landing struts sinking into the soft alien soil. He quickly donned his environmental suit, checking and double-checking the seals to ensure his safety in the unknown environment. As he stepped out onto the planet's surface, Zaloth's suit sensors immediately began analyzing the atmosphere and surroundings. The air was indeed breathable, but there were traces of unfamiliar compounds that could potentially be harmful in the long term. The canyon walls towered above him, casting long shadows across the crash site. Zaloth approached the damaged vessel cautiously, his suit's built-in scanner mapping the wreckage and searching for signs of life. As he drew closer, he noticed strange, angular markings on the ship's hull, unlike any language or symbology he had encountered before. Suddenly, a movement caught his eye near a gaping hole in the ship's side. Zaloth froze, his hand instinctively reaching for the plasma pistol at his hip. A figure stumbled out of the shadows, a bipedal creature wearing a tattered environmental suit of its own. The creature looked up, and their eyes met through the clear visors of their helmets. Zaloth found himself staring into the face of a being he had never seen before, with pale skin, small eyes, and a shock of dark hair. The alien's expression was one of fear and desperation, but also a glimmer of hope. Zaloth realized that this must be one of the survivors of the crash, a member of the unknown species that had sent the distress call. He raised his hand slowly, palms outward, in a universal gesture of peace and goodwill. The alien hesitated for a moment before raising its own hands in response, a tentative sign of trust. Zaloth knew that this was a critical moment, a chance to forge a connection with a new species and unravel the mystery of their presence on this dangerous, uncharted world. He activated his suit's translation matrix, hoping that it would be able to decipher the alien's language. "Greetings," Zaloth said, his voice calm and reassuring. "I am Zaloth of the Crinful. I received your distress signal and came to offer assistance." The alien's eyes widened in surprise as Zaloth's words were translated into its own language. It replied hesitantly, its voice tinged with a mix of fear and relief. "Thank you," it said. "We are humans. Our colony ship was attacked, and we crashed here. We've been stranded for weeks, struggling to survive. Xyloth nodded, the gravity of the situation sinking in. He knew that he would have to act quickly to help these humans, to uncover the truth behind their attack, and to navigate the challenges of this hostile planet. And so, on that fateful day, the lives of Xyloth and the humans became intertwined, their fates tied together by a shared struggle for survival and a desire to unravel the mysteries that had brought them together on this alien world. Xyloth and the human survivor, who introduced himself as Captain Elias Novak, made their way into the wrecked colony ship. The interior was dimly lit by flickering emergency lights, casting eerie shadows across the twisted corridors. As they navigated the debris-strewn passages, Elias explained their situation in greater detail. "We were on our way to establish a new colony on a distant world when we were attacked by an unknown alien faction. They came out of nowhere, targeting our engines and life support systems. We barely managed to escape, but the damage was too severe, and we crashed here." Xyloth listened intently, his mind racing with questions. Who would attack a civilian colony ship, and for what purpose? As they reached the ship's makeshift command center, Xyloth was greeted by the sight of more human survivors, huddled around a flickering holographic display. The humans looked up as Elias and Xyloth entered, their expressions a mix of hope and wariness. Elias quickly introduced Xyloth, explaining how he had responded to their distress signal and offered to help. A woman with short, auburn hair and piercing green eyes stepped forward, her posture rigid with tension. "I'm Lieutenant Ava Romero, second in command. We appreciate your offer of assistance, Xyloth, but how can we be sure we can trust you? We've already been betrayed once." Xyloth understood her suspicion, given their recent trauma. He held out his hands in a gesture of openness and sincerity. "I assure you, I have no ulterior motives. I am an explorer and a scientist, driven by curiosity and a desire to help those in need. I will do everything in my power to ensure your safety and help you reach your destination." Ava studied him for a moment, her eyes searching his face for any sign of deception. Finally, she nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Very well, Xyloth. We'll accept your help, but we'll be watching you closely." Over the next few days, Xyloth worked closely with the human survivors, learning more about their culture and technology as they collaborated to repair the damaged ship. He was impressed by their resilience and adaptability, how they managed to salvage and repurpose materials from the wreckage to create temporary shelters and gather resources. However, the cultural differences between Xyloth and the humans sometimes led to misunderstandings and tension. One incident occurred when Xyloth attempted to interface with the ship's computer systems, triggering a security lockdown that nearly trapped several crew members in a malfunctioning airlock. Elias and Ava rushed to the scene, their faces etched with frustration and concern. "What happened?" Elias demanded, his voice strained. Xyloth quickly explained the situation, his words tumbling out in a rush of apologies and explanations. "I'm sorry. I was trying to access the ship's database to learn more about your technology. I didn't realize my actions would trigger a security response." Ava sighed, rubbing her forehead. "You can't just go poking around in our systems like that, Xyloth. Our technology is different from yours, and unauthorized access could cause serious damage or injury." Xyloth bowed his head, genuinely remorseful. "I understand, and I apologize for my actions. It won't happen again. I should have asked for permission and guidance first." Elias placed a hand on Ava's shoulder, his expression softening. "It's okay, Xyloth. We're all learning here. Just remember, communication and trust are key. We need to work together if we're going to survive this." As the tension eased, Xyloth and the humans redoubled their efforts to repair the ship and find a way off the planet. They worked tirelessly, their skills and knowledge complementing each other as they made steady progress. But their newfound cooperation was soon put to the test when a terrifying roar echoed through the canyon, sending a chill down their spines. A massive reptilian creature with razor-sharp claws and a mouth full of jagged teeth emerged from a nearby cave, its eyes glinting with predatory hunger. Xyloth and the humans froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as the creature stalked towards them, its massive tail swinging back and forth like a pendulum of death. Elias and Eva quickly sprang into action, grabbing whatever weapons they could find and shouting orders to the other survivors. Xyloth, too, readied his plasma pistol, the weight of it suddenly heavy in his hand. As the creature lunged forward, Xyloth and the humans opened fire, their weapons blazing with energy and projectiles. The creature roared in pain and anger, its hide scorched and punctured. But it kept coming, driven by an insatiable hunger. In that moment, Xyloth and the humans realized that they would have to work together, combining their strengths and knowledge, if they were to survive the dangers of this hostile world and uncover the truth behind the attack on the colony ship. And so, as the battle raged on, a bond began to form between the alien explorer and the human survivors, a bond forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the shared desire to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. In the aftermath of the attack by the native predator, Xyloth, and the humans worked together to fortify their position and tend to the wounded. As they shared stories and knowledge around the flickering light of a makeshift campfire, a newfound respect began to grow between them. Xyloth was particularly impressed by the humans' resourcefulness and determination, despite the limited supplies and harsh conditions. But even as they celebrated their progress and their growing bond, a new threat loomed on the horizon, one that would test their resolve and their loyalty to each other like never before. As Xyloth and the humans worked tirelessly to repair the ship and prepare for their eventual departure from the hostile planet, a nagging question continued to plague their minds: who had attacked the colony ship, and why? Determined to uncover the truth, Xyloth delved into the ship's damaged data banks, hoping to find some clue or evidence that could shed light on the mystery. As he sifted through the fragmented data, a shocking revelation began to take shape. The attack on the colony ship had not been a random act of violence, but rather a deliberate sabotage, orchestrated by a rival alien faction known as the Zorgans. The Zorgans, it seemed, had a long-standing grudge against the humans, seeing their expansion into new territories as a threat to their own power and influence. Xyloth shared his findings with Elias and Ava, who were both shocked and angered by the revelation. They had always known that space was a dangerous place, but to think that another species would go so far as to attack a civilian colony ship was almost too much to bear. As they grappled with this new information, another threat began to emerge from within their own ranks. One of the human survivors, a man named Marcus, had been acting increasingly erratic and hostile, questioning Xyloth's motives and sowing discord among the crew. Xyloth and Ava decided to keep a close eye on Marcus, hoping to uncover the reason behind his behavior. As they watched and listened, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Marcus seemed to have an uncanny knowledge of the Zorgans and their tactics, and his actions appeared to be subtly undermining the crew's efforts to repair the ship. Suspicion grew, and tension mounted as Xyloth and Ava shared their concerns with Elias. Could it be that Marcus was not who he claimed to be? Could he be a spy for the Zorgans, planted among the survivors to ensure their failure? They knew they had to act quickly, but they also knew that accusing one of their own without solid proof could tear the fragile bond they had worked so hard to build. Xyloth and Ava decided to set a trap, hoping to catch Marcus in the act of sabotage. Late one night, as the rest of the crew slept, Xyloth and Ava lay in wait, hidden in the shadows of the ship's engine room. They had planted a fake component, designed to fail and cause a critical system malfunction, and now they waited to see if Marcus would take the bait. Hours passed, and just as they were beginning to doubt their suspicions, a figure crept into the engine room, moving with a stealth and purpose that belied his supposed role as a simple colonist. Marcus approached the fake component, a tool in hand, ready to sabotage the ship once again. But before he could strike, Xyloth and Ava emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn and voices raised in accusation. Marcus froze, caught in the act, his expression a mix of anger and fear. As Elias and the other survivors rushed to the scene, alerted by the commotion, Marcus's facade finally crumbled. He admitted to being the Zorgan spy, planted among the colonists to ensure their mission's failure. He had been secretly communicating with his handlers, relaying information about the survivors' progress, and sabotaging their efforts at every turn. The betrayal cut deep, and the survivors struggled to come to terms with the fact that one of their own had been working against them all along. But even in the face of this new challenge, Xyloth and the humans remained united, their bond stronger than ever. They knew that they would have to be more vigilant, more cautious in the face of this new threat. But they also knew that they had each other, and that together, they could overcome any obstacle. As they secured Marcus and continued their work on the ship, Xyloth and the humans began to plan for the future, knowing that their struggle was far from over. They had uncovered the truth behind the attack on their ship, but they still had to find a way to get off this hostile planet and warn the other human colonies of the Zorgan threat. And so, as the sun set over the alien landscape, casting long shadows across the canyon floor, Xyloth and the humans prepared themselves for the final push, the last leg of their journey towards freedom and justice. They knew that the road ahead would be long and hard, filled with dangers and challenges they could scarcely imagine. But they also knew that they had the strength, the courage, and the unity to see it through, no matter what the universe threw at them. With the truth of the Zorgan threat revealed and the traitor among them exposed, Xyloth and the human survivors knew that time was running out. They had to find a way off this hostile planet and warn the other human colonies before it was too late. Determined to succeed, they threw themselves into the final repairs of the ship, working around the clock to get the vessel spaceworthy once more. Xyloth and Ava led the charge, their combined knowledge and skills pushing the survivors to new heights of efficiency and innovation. As they worked, Xyloth and Elias continued to interrogate Marcus, hoping to glean more information about the Zorgans and their plans. Though initially defiant, Marcus eventually began to crack under the weight of his guilt and the realization that his own people had used him as a disposable pawn. He revealed that the Zorgans had a fleet of warships hidden in a nearby nebula, waiting for the signal to strike at the human colonies. He also provided the coordinates of a secret Zorgan base on a nearby moon, where they could find more information, and possibly even allies in their fight against the Zorgan threat. Armed with this new knowledge, Xyloth and the humans made a daring plan. They would split into two teams, one to finish the repairs on the ship and get it ready for launch, and the other to infiltrate the Zorgan base and gather as much intelligence as they could. Xyloth volunteered to lead the infiltration team, his knowledge of alien technology and culture making him the ideal candidate. Ava and a small group of survivors joined him, their skills in stealth and combat honed by their time on the hostile planet. As they made their way to the Zorgan base, Elias and the remaining survivors worked tirelessly to complete the repairs on the ship. They knew that every moment counted, and that their lives and the lives of countless others depended on their success. At the Zorgan base, Xyloth and his team faced numerous challenges and close calls, but their determination and unity saw them through. They managed to infiltrate the base's command center and download a trove of data on the Zorgans' plans and weaknesses. But just as they were about to make their escape, they were discovered by a group of Zorgan guards. A fierce battle ensued, with Xyloth and the humans fighting side by side, their bond and trust in each other giving them the strength to overcome their foes. In the end, they emerged victorious, but not without cost. Several of the humans were wounded, and they knew that their escape had likely triggered an alarm. They had to get back to the ship and warn the others before the Zorgans could retaliate. Racing against time, they made their way back to the canyon just as Elias and the others were finishing the final repairs on the ship. But as they prepared to launch, a fleet of Zorgan fighters appeared on the horizon, alerted to their presence by the base's distress signal. Xyloth and the humans knew that they had only one chance. They had to get the ship off the ground and jump to hyperspace before the Zorgans could shoot them down. In a flurry of activity, they loaded the last of the supplies and survivors onto the ship, even as the Zorgan fighters drew ever closer. With Eva at the helm and Xyloth manning the weapons, they lifted off from the planet's surface, the ship shuddering and groaning as it strained to escape the planet's gravity well. The Zorgan fighters were upon them in moments, their weapons raking across the ship's shields and hull. But Xyloth and the humans would not be denied. With a final burst of speed and a daring maneuver, they broke free of the planet's atmosphere and jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Zorgan fighters far behind. As they hurtled through the swirling vortex of hyperspace, Xyloth and the humans finally allowed themselves a moment to breathe, to reflect on all they had been through and all they had accomplished. They had faced impossible odds and unimaginable challenges, but through it all, they had remained united, their bond forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the strength of their shared humanity. And now, as they set course for the nearest human colony, ready to warn them of the Zorgan threat and share the intel they had gathered, Xyloth and the humans knew that their journey was far from over. But they also knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever battles they would have to fight, they would face them together, as friends and allies, united in their determination to protect their people and their way of life. As the ship hurtled through the stars, Xyloth looked around at the faces of his human companions, seeing in them the same courage, resilience, and compassion that had drawn him to their species in the first place. And he knew that no matter what the future held, he would always be proud to stand beside them, to fight for them, and to call them his friends. For in the end, it was not the technology or the tactics that had saved them, but the strength of their unity, the power of their bond, and the indomitable spirit of their shared humanity. And with that knowledge, that certainty, Xyloth and the humans faced the future with hope and determination, ready to take on whatever challenges the universe had in store for them, together.